Hi, this is Blessing,
And this is Tessa.
and we are Unabashedly Romantic. Welcome to our very first episode, so forgive us for a couple of hiccups. And today we're going to be talking about The Witcher, since that was just put on Netflix, and we've just literally finished binge watching both season 1 and season 2 because my sister over here hadn't watched The Witcher when it first came out, so I forced her to watch season 1, but she got hooked like I did because who can fight the allure of Henry Cavill in a white wig on a horse? It's a bit hard to.
Here's to hoping he's in season 3.
I know those rumors really are breaking my heart. What were your thoughts on just overall in the different characters?
Okay, so obviously I really liked Geralt because he's Geralt. But I did get frustrated about Cirilla. Like, at first, she's just introduced as princess, so kind of indifferent to her. But then once Calanthe dies and Cintra falls and she runs away, she makes so many decisions that are kind of stupid. She didn't really think about what she should do and she was way too trusting. I think season 2, she got a little bit better, but she still...
There were a lot of irritating moments, like that episode.
Yeah, when they were staying at the castle with his friend that got cast into a beast.
I mean, she trusted an evil Bruxademon. I think that's what it's called. I mean, she just looks at people in the face and goes, well, that's obviously who they are, and doesn't think any deeper, which irritated me so much throughout the show, especially when Geralt started teaching her how to survive, and he was like, if I say this, do this, and so on, or if he was like training her, going, keep your ears open, and then in the next episode, she's not paying attention to her surroundings. Like, come on.
Yeah, she saw everything in black and white, and everything is in black and white. It's in shades of grey. But yeah.
Well, she finally got there in the end.
Yes, but then she got possessed.
I know, and I was like, it took too long to get her out of it. I mean, I know that the Deathless Mother, was so powerful, yeah. But at the same time, she knew they were dead, so she should know that if she's not waking up as quickly, and she should know something's wrong.
And she was hearing their voices. Like, she would say their names and she had their voices, but she just didn't listen.
Yeah, that frustrated me. What did you think about the ending?
Okay, that was a twist I did not see coming, but it makes sense that her father's the one that's in it. I want to say that he's evil, but I don't know his motives because, everything he's done implies that he is.
I mean, I guess, okay, I'm playing the devil's advocate because I, in no shape or form, like him at the moment. But if you think about it from the lens of, a loving father, trying to get her back before everyone else realized the prophecy would be something he would do. At the same time...
The way he went about doing it.
Exactly. And 2, where has he been for the last 15, 20 years or however long it's been since he mysteriously disappeared? I would want to know where he's been, and how did he end up as king and near the White Flame? I honestly thought the White Flame was just a way to control people. So now I'm sort of questioning if it's a real thing, or is he just fashioned himself into this thing that people can believe in to make it easier to control people? I don't know.
It also frustrated me that it took so long for the people who are supposed to meet up to actually meet up.
This is going back all the way to season 1.
Yeah, I mean, first, her only task was to find Geralt of Rivia. And the frustrating thing was that he was in Cintra. when she was escaping Sintra. And yeah, I feel like it felt like it was longer because of all the flashbacks. What's happening?
For me, I think it wasn't. I think the timelines were so confusing in season 1. 1 minute would be killing the cursed children, and then the next thing will be in Calanthe's court, and then the next thing will be with Geralt on his adventures with the Askia, and Calanthe would be dying, and then in the next episode we see Calanthe alive, and it's like I'm not quite sure which ones come first, which ones come second. Towards the end of the season, it does make a bit more sense. You sort of see which one's supposed to be in the present and what's in the past, but it's not very clear. I mean, I would have loved if they just maybe put the dates on, like to be like, okay, this is before this event, or maybe the exact like year or something, because that would have just made it a little bit easier to follow. And I realized that I think The Witch obviously is based on books, and the way the books are written are that they're short stories, from what I understand. I haven't read any of the books yet, and it's definitely on my to-do list, but they tried to incorporate a bit too many stories, and that just made everything a little bit, hard to follow. Bit of a headache to follow, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the only people we get like their full story is Jennifer, because we were there, but we don't get the whole thing because she's a quarter elf, half elf, and well, we don't know. We know that I think it was her father that was the elf, but we don't know what happened to him, how that even came about. But we do know from when she was sold to the witches at Arethusa, and her training, and her going out in the world, and how she met Geralt. That was one that I didn't really get confused about. Geralt, we know his adult life, kind of.
But then he hallucinated his mother, and we sort of got little glimpses of how he ended up with Vesemir.
Yeah.
But we don't understand why the mother would do that, and if the hallucination of his mother was actually his mother, which, if it is, then she's not dead, so why did she give him up? Like, I feel like that needs to be explored a little bit more. I liked the fact that in season 2, Geralt was so much more talkative. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked his deep fucks and hmms and stuff during season 1 because, it just totally turned me on. But it was also nice just knowing what's, ticking behind that pretty face, to know that he does think of things and other people think him cold and unfeeling, but he's not like that. And I feel like he's a much more sensitive. The witches as a whole are much more sensitive than people give them credit for. And they're not just dumb people just throwing a coin in their face and telling them go kill monsters. They're not stupid by any stretch of the imagination. They probably know more about what the real goings on of the
continent
than the mages do, because the mages sit there in their pretty towers discussing politics, wanting to, be in charge of everything because they feel that with magic they have the right to, which that's a whole nother point. But yeah, I really did enjoy exploring Geralt a little bit more this season. I was still frustrated with Yennefer.
At the beginning, she was very power hungry, and I get why, but at the same time, I was so frustrated with her for what she was doing. And then she met Geralt, and I feel like she kind of mellowed out on the power thing, and she had a reason for doing what she was doing because she just really wanted a child, right? But then season 2, when she finally gives in to the deathless mother, kidnaps Ciri, I felt so frustrated because they'd finally found each other again, because he thought she was dead, and then she goes and she kidnaps essentially his child. That frustrated me so much. But then she sacrificed herself and let the deathless mother possess her. which we then find out about the Wild Hunt, which I think are the Seven Horsemen. I don't know if
We tried counting.
There were 7 of them, but I don't know if it's like the same thing. Wild Hunt, 7 Horsemen.
I think within the show, they've made connotations that they are almost different, different faces of them, maybe different stories from different spheres. But which brings me to, I love the fact that the spheres went in the great collide, whatever, didn't just disappear, because that would have made for such a boring thing. Because right now, the continent looks very flat.
Yeah.
So I was quite glad that there's more to sort of explore and see in the upcoming seasons, which is a good thing that they did get renewed for season 3, which is going to be exciting. We were just debating, saying there were a couple of headlines we saw recently about the fact that Henry Cavill might not be in season 3, and that would be very sad.
Not bad.
Because I think that's the only reason I started watching the right now. But we'll just have to wait and see. I think I love the family dynamic, but that's coming, or between like the witches and their like family, their brothers, and the fact that Geralt now sees Ciri as his daughter. And I think that's really highlighted in that scene where Geralt catches up with Ciri and Yennefer just outside of Sintra, when the dwarves sort of ask him, so who is she? Whose daughter is she? And Geralt's like, mine. She's mine. And make sure that everyone understands that, no, this isn't just because, she's my child surprise. It's because she is my daughter. I teach her, I care for her, I, in my own way, love her, kind of thing. Obviously, he's not that poetic. We'll leave the poetry to Yaskia. But yeah, it was really moving, touching to sort of see them like be that for each other. I mean, Ciri has her moment where she's talking about the fact that Geralt feels like a father to her and a mentor and someone who makes her feel less lonely. So that was really sweet. And I think we just have to wait for Yennefer to sort of stop stabbing them in the back long enough to really appreciate that they're not against her. And she should trust people a little bit more. I mean, obviously not the mages.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think she trusts the mages, which I think is one of the good things she's got figured out.
Yeah, and I think that's what, is it Triss?
Yeah, I thought Triss was like one of the good ones, not in the sense that she actively like fights for the good side or whatever, but like she's just there. She's not really on any side. But then after they had tested Ciri's blood, she sort of, I think she thinks she's doing a good thing, but she's not.
Not by the looks of things. So let me just explain a little bit about Triss. We meet Triss in season 1.
Yeah.
Geralt goes to
Foltest
court to fight against a monster called a Striga, which is basically a cursed child. The child is cursed in the mother's womb. And usually the curse was on the mother, but it filtered down to the child and turned them into a monster. And she was sent there to deal with this, and Geralt came in and helped with that. So that's where we first meet Triss. And honestly, I trusted her. And obviously in season 2, a lot of the characters underwent a revamp because people were saying they're not being true to the game, they're not being true to the books. So they changed some of their powers and their looks. And I think maybe it's because of that. But in season 2,
after the Battle of Sodden,
yeah, when we all think Yennefer is dead, we just don't quite trust Triss from the get-go of season 2, or at least I didn't.
It was like her aura. I mean, it doesn't sound like you can feel auras with things on TV, but her aura just did not seem right, and I didn't know if that was whether it's like trauma from what happened because she'd gotten burnt in the throat, or it was foreshadowing what would happen later on. And I also found that she, along with other people, had so much faith in destiny, and that caused a lot of bad choices to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, considering Geralt sort of asked her to come to the witch's home, Keir Morin, I think a big problem was she was judgmental of their way of life just ever so slightly. Sort of like, she wanted her to still have that respectability of being a princess. And when she started seeing more and more about what, who Ciri is, what her role would be in the future, what Ciri is, she didn't act as the adult in the situation. She sort of just was like, oh my goodness, you're evil. You're going to destroy the world. Just one drop of your blood will destroy the world. And she went scurrying back to the mages, which made me angry because those who have watched The Witcher, I'm sure you know all of these political games the mages play. It became so irritating because they act as know-it-alls and don't act in the best interest. And we all know that the older ones especially seem to like twisting history to suit their needs.
Especially Stregobor.
Oh, I hate Stregobor. It's not just like his character, it's like his face and,
it's the mustache. I'm serious. I don't like at the beginning when we first meet him, because he's like the first mage we meet, I think, in that village, right? And he goes how he wants someone to die because she was born under an eclipse or something, and he was killing all of them because apparently they'd leave a lot of bloodshed behind them and all that.
And there were four warnings, I think, or something.
Of Lilith, is it?
Of the coming of Lilith, which I have great feelings that maybe that was a take on Elianthe's prophecies of the elven child that would be born.
That prophecy was greatly misunderstood because I think Ciri is the elven child that was born, but the elves thought it was
the child that had just been born.
I'm not sure what her name was, but I think she was married to Filavandrel. Which also frustrates me. I thought like after Filavandrel had like captured the Witcher, and the Witcher kind of like talked sense into him,
that he would remain on like the edge of the world and
just rebuild, right? But I knew he didn't want to be king, or at least that came across as he didn't want to be king, but he would do it as a necessity. And then when she's the one that was kind of in charge, and everything she did was because of a hooded figure in a cloak. I mean, she couldn't even see the face. She just assumed.
And they fell for that trick by the deathless mother, which did sort of irritate me. And I think we would be, amiss to not mention Fringilla, because she is one of the big bads in season 1 and a little bit in season 2 to a lesser extent. And I just personally think Fringilla is very power hungry. She orchestrated the fall of Sodom with all of her forbidden magics and necromancy and so on. So she's very easy to hate. And I think season 2, there were many points where you could almost see the beginnings of a redemption arc, but at the last minute she'd be like, no, I'm not good, kind of thing, as if she'd just make this decision to be like, no, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stick on this path, which at the end, sadly, she gets imprisoned by Emir. So we'll see how that turns out, because I don't want to see her dead, because that would make things less interesting.
Yeah, I mean, season 1 at Aretusa, when we see Yennefer and them, did feel sorry for her because, like, she was going to get the job at
Aiden's court.
Yeah, but Yennefer swooped in and took that. So I kind of feel sorry for her because I think she was really humiliated that day. Then after White Flame and being
Nilfgaard attacking
Nilfgaard, that
everything,
all
yeah.
just flew out the window.
So yeah. We're just gonna make a wrap up with a couple of our last thoughts on The Witcher. What did you think overall?
I really love this series. And I will continue watching it as it goes on because usually I watch series and if the next season doesn't come out, usually I don't really like carry it on. So I think this is a series that I'll definitely carry on. And I'm hoping that we'll have better answers in the next season because we got left with a lot of unanswered questions.
So true. What was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene. I think my favorite scene was near the end when Yennefer, Geralt, and Ciri actually looked like a family, which was really nice. I think the saddest scene for me was when Roach dies.
That is so true.
Sad.
The bond between him and Geralt was like, I mean, Geralt always spoke to his horse, which was weird at the beginning, but it was almost like the horse understood him. So yeah, it was so sad to see Roach die. I think for me, I love The Witcher, and I seriously hope that season 3 doesn't come out in a year's time, but a bit sooner than that, because if I have to wait another year for this, it's going to be a long year. And I think my favorite scene would probably be, the scene where Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri sort of come together and understand, okay, yes, we've done really bad things to us in the past, but we have to help each other because destiny can only bring you together. And then Geralt says this really nice thing about that you have to put effort in, which is a good thing because you have to put effort into relationships. And he says something about them needing something more, and that something more is Ciri. So I found that really sweet.
Yeah, I love the fact Geralt didn't rely on destiny like everyone seemed to do.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.